this is Ashley. Welcome back to another installment of Lovely Layering with Ashley. Today we are going to be using masking techniques as a way to layer our stamped images to create lots of dimension and depth in a scene. You can do it as you see here with outline images, and I'll also show you in just a bit how you can do that with layered stamped images as well. To achieve this look, we're going to be using the Altenew mask stencil sets that you can purchase separately that coordinate with lots of their stamp sets. It just makes it really easy. Now, I want to show you, first of all, this stencil. You can use this to make really fun sort of like outlines, but also the actual masks that we're going to use today are cut to the exact dimensions of the stamps themselves or the images themselves. So let me just place this over the stamp here to show you. There is absolutely no line between where the stamp stops and the mask begins. So I wanted to show you the difference, because if you just used a die to cut out a mask, you're going to get a little bit of the white outline or white border when you went ahead to stamp over it to create these layers that we're going to create here. So I'm just going to show you in a little bit more detail how we do that. I'm also going to be using the stamp set Versatile Vases today. I love using these vases with florals because it makes it a lot easier to create an arrangement, which I sometimes struggle with. So I'm going to be using my Misty to create this scene, and you'll see why it's much easier to use a stamp positioner in just a second. So I went ahead and drew some lines with very light hand with a pencil, because I actually want my flowers to come over the vase. Normally when you create a floral arrangement in a vase, obviously you don't always see the very top of the vase. The flowers sort of come over the leaves. So I want to make sure that I know where those lines are and I can make my flowers come over those lines. And it's going to all be cohesive and together because we're going to be using the masks to create that look. So as you can see, I stamped my first image. Now I'm going to line up my second image where I would like it. You have to remember that this second image is going to be behind whatever you've stamped first. So you'll see that I place the stamp, or I position the stamp to where I want it. I close my door and open it to make sure it stays on the Misty, and then I put my mask on. I'll then go ahead and close the Misty door after inking it up, and I do put a lot more pressure on it only because I don't want the dimension from that mask to create a line in between the stamped images. And when I go ahead and lift it up, you can see that it's created this really beautiful, already we're starting to see this arrangement come to life. Now here's the second one. I'm going to do some leaves peeking up from behind these flowers. So what I'll do is arrange my leaves to where I think that I would like them. I'll go ahead and pick that up with my Misty door, and now I'm going to use both of these masks because I need to mask off both of these images in order to get the leaves behind both of them. So I'm going to go ahead and place the masks on both of my images. I'll ink this leaf up, and then again I'm going to apply a lot of pressure just to make sure I don't have any space in between the stamped images. Now after I apply this pressure, I'm going to go ahead and pick up the Misty door, and again you'll see that I get the image just behind both of these flowers. Now it's a little harder to see when it's all in black and white, only because the lines sort of get crossed, and when you're looking at it, it sort of blends together, but when you start to color, it really comes to life. This leaf here is actually going to be the piece that's hanging most over the vase, this piece and the first flower that we stamped. Again, so I'm going to position it way over that line that I drew with a light hand in the beginning where the vase starts. And then I'm going to pick it up on my Misty door, put my masks down, ink the stamp up, and then go ahead and close it. Now, I'm putting a lot more pressure with these because when you have to stamp it on top of two masks that are sort of on top of each other, obviously you're going to have a lot more dimension there in between the paper and where you're stamping. So you just want to make sure that you put lots of pressure on it. And again, the reason I'm saying you don't want lines in between the images is because you don't want it to seem as if this is what you did. You sort of just want it to look like it was all just one cohesive piece. For my final flower, I go ahead and do or repeat the same process that I have been doing. And now is time to stamp my vase. This is sort of when everything comes to life for me, because right now they're just sort of floating. So really I only need to mask off the leaf and the first flower because these are the only lines that are going to intersect that vase. So I'm going to repeat the process, and this time I just want to take my finger and sort of travel around the very outer edge of the vase. If I do too much pressure in the center, I'm going to get that excess ink there onto the paper. So as you can see, after I've colored it with the alcohol ink artist markers, I get this really beautiful scene. I really love being able to let those leaves and flowers hang over the top of the vase. I really just think that that adds a lot more realism into it, and I really love the way this came out. You can also see that I added a shadow there at the bottom of the vase, and that's just to add a little bit more to the scene as if it were sitting on a table or something like that. So now we're going to do the same process, but we're going to do it with layered stamps. Now, the only reason that this is a little more tedious is because you have to keep putting the same mask back on that original flower, but I wanted to show you that it is possible. I don't have a full example with this card, but you'll be able to fully understand the process, especially after just watching that one. So I have my first stamped image. I'm going to again line up the next image that I'd like, and I have to remember that this is going to fall behind that first image. I'll go ahead and place my mask on and ink it up, close it, and again I have the perfect masked off image there. So for the second layer, I'm just going to line it up as you would lining up a second layer of stamp. But this time, before I stamp it, I'm going to again place that mask over the first image, stamp this up in my next color of ink, and then go ahead and shut the MISTI door. Again, applying lots of pressure there just to be sure that we get all of the detail in with no lines in between the images. So one more time, I'll go ahead and put that mask on, ink this up in my next color after I have already lined it up, and then we're going to go ahead and get the final layer of this stamp. And because I decided not to intersect or overlap with the center of that second flower, I won't have to mask that off when I'm doing the center. It'll just make it a little bit easier for me. I hope that you've enjoyed the video and learned a little bit about how you can use the masks and stencils to your advantage when creating a scene. As always, please let me know if you've got any questions in the comments, and you can go to the description for all of the products used today. Thanks so much, and I'll see you again very soon.